Let's talk about Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. Welcome to another installment of the Let's Talk series, in which I openly ramble about my thoughts on a particular game or topic and open up the forum to discussion with you guys. I was invited to Ubisoft headquarters in San Francisco to preview the newest addition to the established Assassin's Creed franchise, Assassin's Creed Chronicles. These new entries in the series will take place in 3 distinct locations: China, India, and I believe the third one is Russia. These 3 new locations will feature assassins who have gained notoriety through the graphic novels that tie in with the series. Now, what struck me the most from this trip, actually, beyond the, drastic style change we'll get into in a little bit, was how little I actually know about the Assassin's Creed universe. There's mountains of exposition contained within these stories that just kind of go under the bridge if you're not looking out for it. Oh, and I'm also apparently a huge fan of hotel restaurant sausage platters because I'm secretly very posh. Anyway, Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. It is different. It's very different, and I'm not sure if I like it. The game features Shao Jun, the last remaining assassin of the Chinese Brotherhood, and it's set in the 16th century. And most notably, the game, as you can see here during the 4th and 5th missions of Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, it takes place in a 2.5D space, which is a dramatic shift from traditional Assassin's Creed gameplay. And this has happened before in the series too. I think it was Assassin's Creed 2? It was like a tie-in game. I think it was called Discovery on the Nintendo DS and the iOS as well, the iOS platform. It had similar gameplay. And that game, was released alongside Assassin's Creed 2. However, this, as far as I can tell, is a standalone title or series of titles. But it gives me some reticence about the move into the 2.5D platform. First off, I do need to say, it does look pretty damn good. There were a few instances while I was playing which I was very impressed by the utilization of the 2.5D space to present certain elements of the world. It's pleasing both aesthetically and, in a tactile sense, because you can feel fluid motions much like you would with the free running of the other Creed games. And then beyond that, I'm just left uncertain. And I should also very clearly mention this was an early build of the game. There are portions that may not have been finalized, but even so, it felt rough. Playing an Assassin's Creed game, it's become synonymous with the idea of being this free-roaming, basically unstoppable killing machine. There's stealth elements to it as well, of course, and most people try to employ a stealth approach from what I can see, but when you end up getting into a situation where you're forced to deal with combatants, that is as much a part of the gameplay as the stealth approach is. And this attempts to turn that on a dime and go Mark of the Ninja style. It's forcing you into stealth-only situations, essentially punishing you for wanting to take matters into your own hands. Now, this is all, again, more than likely a personal preference here, but I didn't really enjoy my experience as it related to those factors. Several times throughout my play session, I was coerced into situations where the game clearly said to me, "Hey, remember all that cool stealth shit we showed you? It looks pretty good here, doesn't it? Yeah, you should totally do that." And I so badly just want to flip him the bird and throw ninja stalls. I want to throw ninja stalls everywhere. I want to throw ninja stars all over the place. Like I did before. I did that all the time. It was great. And now, though, when you engage a whole bunch of enemies in combat, it's like you're playing Assassin's Quap. Get it? Like, Quap game. Like, you trigger an enemy's awareness, and you do your damnedest not to fall onto your own face while you're thwacking them around with your saber. The combat, admittedly, has never really been the strongest suit of this franchise, but at least it had become consistent. And I suppose consistency shouldn't really be what I call into question in here, but what I do take issue with is whether or not this new direction things are taking is fun. I think it will be, but for an entirely new audience. There's an entirely new sect of people that are going to start enjoying Assassin's Creed with this approach, which, to their credit, is probably for the best. If you recall in my previous video discussing Assassin's Creed Unity, I very nearly put out a call to arms to Ubisoft to change up the formula and make something drastically different from the cookie-cutter stuff we've gotten up to this point. And this is that. Chronicles is a whole new landscape. And while I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, I think a lot of people will. I think a lot of people may be relieved to see a fresh perspective on what many likely consider a stale series. So boiling it down to that, here are my takeaways from it. I didn't have the greatest experience. The 2.5D approach is certainly different, but it felt clunky. It forced itself onto me the majority of the time. However, this is a direction that I'm excited to see the series take, as opposed to, again, just the same copy-paste materials we'd gotten in the past. You can definitely feel Mark of the Ninja influences from it as well. I felt like, I mean, you introduced that 2.5D element to things. It does change it up enough to not be, you know, very similar to that game in and of itself, but it's, if I'm comparing the two, I like Mark of the Ninja a lot more. It felt like it knew what it wanted to be, as opposed to a game that is trying to break out of its shell and approach an entirely different audience. I am very curious to see how people receive this, and I'm very interested, of course, to hear your thoughts on it as well. What do you think based on what you can see here about the new direction of Chronicles? And I wish I could show you guys a little bit more. I am restricted to just the 4th and 5th missions here. I'm hoping actually that I was able to get the correct videos to display, otherwise I might be in trouble. We will find out though. Now, does this look like something you'd be inclined to try out? Let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to engage the discussions that I see down there. Thank you guys very much for watching another episode of Let's Talk. I'll be trying to do a few more of these as we go, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.